Just to introduce myself really quickly, my name is Alex. I am an executive coach specializing in burnout, and I am also a licensed therapist. I'm a former nonprofit executive leader, a mindfulness meditation facilitator. I'm a wife. I have two young girls, and I live in coastal North Carolina. I run this Facebook group as a free resource for moms who are in leadership roles who want to understand and learn the nuances of burnout, real strategies to solve it, and really the kind of intersection of motherhood, leadership, and burnout. I do also have a paid group coaching program, and we can talk a little bit about that at the end. So like I said, I love for these to be interactive. Pop in the chat, give me a like, anything while you are listening in. So sometimes people don't know when they are experiencing burnout, or they don't know, what am I feeling? Am I stressed? Am I burnt out? I just really, truly don't know the difference. Sometimes women think, this is just the way things are, right? This just has to be the way that things are. This is what I signed up for. I'm a mom. I'm in executive leadership. I'm in senior leadership. I'm feeling stressed, but this is what I signed up for, right? I'm in a high level, high pressure job. This is what it is, right? Well, that's wrong, and that's false, and that's a myth. So we're going to talk through that. So let's discuss the clear differences between stress and burnout and see how we can manage it and how to tell the difference. Stress is a natural response to everyday or extraordinary stressors. Sometimes it can linger for a little while and become chronic, may lead to burnout, but not always. So you have probably all felt stress before, right? It's a common feeling. It's our body's response to maybe feeling overstimulated, overwhelmed. Maybe you're in a traffic jam. Maybe something that you burnt your holiday dinner. You just have a lot going on. You have maybe a really important presentation coming up. Maybe the board of directors is coming in, or something along those lines. So you've all felt that before, right? But the burnout piece is really a sense of exhaustion, brain fog. Your motivation is kind of gone. You have a very disconnection to your work, whereas maybe it used to be something that you really enjoyed or you loved. Now you don't want to be there at all. Okay. So again, let's go back to stress, and I'm going to explain this a little bit more. Again, normal body response to uncomfortable situations, events. It's typically short term, typically predictable, right? It should look acute, not chronic, meaning that it happens temporarily. It happens for a short time. It's not all the time, every single day. So anything can cause this response, but it varies by each person. So the things that cause you stress. Maybe it's travel. Maybe it's getting on an airplane, right? Well, I really don't like travel. The airport is just super crowded. We are waiting in all these lines. We gotta get on the plane. I'm not the biggest fan of flying. I know I'm gonna be stressed out, right? But the minute you land, you're like, ooh, okay, I feel better. I'm good, right? Or it could be something like even like a crying baby, or end of the year reviews are coming up, or maybe driving on the highway. It's actually a really common fear. A lot of people don't like driving on the highway, right? So, or maybe you have a big presentation coming up, and your kid wakes up sick and they got a fever, and now you got to schedule the presentation. So it's little pops of feeling overwhelmed or stress. That feeling produces cortisol, which is the hormone that makes us feel stress, right? So stress and kind of, fatigue, they're kind of like an on and off daily experience. But with stress, there's an end in sight, right? People don't typically feel with general stress that I'm going to feel like this forever. They don't feel that there's no hope. They don't feel trapped. They pretty much know their triggers. They know why it's happening, and they know that it's temporary, and they know that it's going to go away. Okay, so that's kind of, in a nutshell, stress. And then when we move towards burnout, that's when we're feeling it's more chronic, right? So it's all day, every day, forever. You wake up feeling this way. You go through your day. Maybe you're distracted, but you pretty much wake up feeling the way that you do going to bed. You're waking up in the middle of the night. You're feeling dread. You're feeling complete dread. You're feeling like you're trapped in your work. You can't get out no matter how hard you try. But you're feeling like you want to escape, right? You're feeling like maybe you just should go be a bartender on the beach in Costa Rica because that would be a way better career path. You're feeling exhausted, not tired, not like, oh, it's the end of the day and I've been running around with the kids and I'm tired. You're exhausted mentally, physically. You're disconnected from your family. You don't have any interest in hanging out with the kids. You certainly don't want to hang out with your husband. No, you're done. I mean, you're emotionally, you're physically depleted. You're exhausted. Okay? And the physical effects of burnout show up a lot more than they do with stress. With burnout, which is in another form, considered chronic stress, so it's on the spectrum, right? If you take stress, your normal, acute, everyday stress at the very, very beginning of the spectrum, and you go all the way to the other end, that's where you're going to see that chronic stress and that burnout. And that's when those physical symptoms kick in. Typically, physical symptoms kick in like way before you realize you have burnout. I've heard women say, I've had this headache for like 6 months. It just won't go away. Or, people who have gone to physical therapy and to acupuncture and to yoga because they have so much back pain and, muscle tension. Well, there's nothing wrong with your muscles. You're burnout. So headaches, changes in sleep patterns, meaning you're feeling exhausted, but you try to go to sleep and you can't, or you're waking up in the middle of the night. Body aches, pains, fatigue, heart palpitations. I mean, this can really affect your circulatory system and the way that you breathe. Shortness of breath, constipation, IBS symptoms, general GI symptoms. You don't know how many women I talk to on a daily basis who say, I have IBS, right? I have IBS, I've been diagnosed, and then I'll always ask them my next follow-up question. Well, has your doctor talked to you about the connection between IBS and high functioning anxiety, or IBS and burnout? And 99.9% of the time the answer is no. Lack of intimacy, so not really feeling at all that you want anything to do with your partner. Not that you don't love your partner, but that the intimacy is just done. You're just not feeling it. Really low sex drive. Your weakened immune system. Maybe you're noticing you're getting colds, you're getting sinus infections. You're not super, super sick, but you're getting more illnesses than you were in the past. So that's all the physical symptoms that run along with burnout. Emotional and kind of behavioral effects. Anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, irritability, trouble concentrating, having a hard time processing information. So maybe being in a meeting that, you need to really comprehend kind of what's happening and you can't. Forgetfulness, oh my gosh, I forgot my keys, or I forgot my purse, or I forgot my wallet, or you miss a meeting or something that you typically wouldn't do. Brain fog, crying spells, just crying, just feeling overwhelmed and crying, and low impulse control. So then maybe that's like, well, maybe you're overspending, maybe you're trying to compensate with financial decisions. So that's kind of the bulk of just the symptomology of what burnout looks like, both physically and emotionally and behaviorally. Whereas again, stress is acute, is temporary. You know the trigger. You know something's going to stress you out, but you also can know and recognize pretty quickly that it's going to be temporary, okay? So burnout is a cycle of negative emotions and withdrawal when you're investing too much into something emotionally, intellectually, and physically without doing anything to restore yourself, okay? The most important burnout symptom to remember is complete and total exhaustion, okay, to the extent that it cannot be fixed by an evening or a weekend vacation, right? That's when people are struggling with burnout, it isn't, it's not going to be enough to just take a PTO day and you'll feel fine, okay? The most common and most talked about trigger of burnout is workplace. So the term burnout can be used for other things and more casually, like mom burnout or teacher, whatever burnout. But most common, it's like attached to a job title, but really the formal definition of just is any workplace. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the differences. I want to be really, really sure that you all understand the differences. Okay, so burnout, so studies suggest that burnout isn't necessarily separate from chronic stress, but rather like at the far end of the stress continuum. So chronic stress can lead to more intensive and severe symptoms, and then that's when it's impairing your functioning, right? That's when you're forgetting things, you're having brain fog, you're not producing the things at work, you're disconnecting from the kids, you're yelling, you don't want to spend time with your husband, all those things. Okay. So there's plenty burnout scales out there, and I have one that I'll share with you at the end of this. But most prominent thing is just that sheer exhaustion. Okay, so the three main features of burnout, this is actually in the World Health Organization definition of burnout, is overwhelming exhaustion, cynicism or detachment from work, so really not feeling like you want to be there at all, a sense of not being productive or accomplished or effective. Okay. So this may lead to chronic burnout. And you'll know that from your exhaustion, reduced performance, cynicism, emotional distress, your physical symptoms that we talked about, insomnia that we talked about, low satisfaction, that sense of like, get me out of here. I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe you're taking more time off. Maybe you're, taking more sick days off and neglecting your personal needs, right? Exercise, hobbies, personal life, things you used to love and bring you joy. You're just not doing them anymore. Okay. So stress is going to be, not as exaggerated. It's a natural response to external pressures or demands. And the duration is pretty short term. It's pretty manageable. I mean, everybody feels stress, right? Everybody feels stress. There's not one person on the earth who has never felt stress. If you know of that person, let me know. Find them for me. Bring them to me. I want to talk to them. But it happens, right? It's normal. It's if you hear somebody say, I'm pretty stressed, you wouldn't be concerned about them. If they were your friend or your family member, you probably wouldn't be too concerned. If you hear somebody say that they're burnt out, right? They're exhausted, they want to escape, that's a little bit more concerning, right? So the nature, again, of stress is perceived like external pressures. The nature of burnout is chronic stress that leads to physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. It really can be long-term. People really have to have to go through a recovery period in order to get out of this space. It's really going to impact your physical, emotional, and cognitive space. Okay. So how do you recognize, the differences? Again, stressors, identifiable cause, identifiable root. The symptoms may kind of fluctuate, but it's manageable with whatever your coping strategies are, right? They could be a number of things: walks, exercise, eating healthy, therapy, coaching, whatever your coping skill is, it's manageable, right? Burnout is not so manageable. It's consistent. It's depleting, it's exhausting, it's all encompassing. You're detached, right? Your performance is slipping. Okay. So my challenge to you all, if you're listening to this, whether you're here live with me or you're listening to the replay, is that you're curious about what it is that you're experiencing. So my hope is that through this short little training, you have a little bit of a better understanding of what it is that you are personally experiencing, whether it's stress or burnout. Okay. If it is burnout, if you're feeling like that burnout is what you're experiencing, my suggestion would be to reach out to me and talk me through a little bit about what you're experiencing so that I can help you really verify, like, is that what you're going through, and point you in the right direction. Okay. I'm definitely here to help. Whether or not, you and I work together, I really want to help you figure out, is it burnout or is it stress? I do have a assessment, a burnout scale assessment through this group. I will bump it up in the group so you can all see it. If you want it, just shoot me a message, and it's a PDF, so I'll have to shoot it back to you in Messenger. And you can just look through that and score yourself and see where you're at. Okay. I so appreciate your time as always. I am happy to answer any questions that you have. Today we talked about how to spot the differences between stress and burnout and how to really make sure that you know what you're experiencing so that you can kind of go through and get the resources that you need. If you're really ready to fast track that recovery, all without giving up the career that you worked so hard for, I can help you do that. I do have a signature coaching program where we are going to learn how to beat burnout, reconnect with your family, engage in your personal life, set really strong and healthy boundaries, decrease high functioning anxiety and guilt, regulate your nervous system, all while being a better, more successful leader. Okay, it's a hybrid model executive coaching and burnout recovery program. There are a lot of executive coaching programs out there and a lot of burnout programs out there. But this one, as far as I've seen, let me know if you see another one, is the only one that combines the two. I find it so important that women understand that they don't have to give up their career. This isn't a sign that you need to go be a greeter at Walmart. Okay, this isn't a sign that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it or that you're a bad mom if you do it. This is your sign that you just need to tweak a little bit of how you're operating and a little bit of those boundaries to really make sure that you can have both a really wonderful personal life and a really wonderful career life. You do deserve to have both and you can have both. I'd love to show you how. So please shoot me a DM right away. We can get a free call on the books as soon as possible and see if we are a good fit to work together. And if we're not, that's okay too. Then you spend, 30, 45 minutes getting some suggestions about what might work for you. Very happy to be here today. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you all next time.